Alright, so today we're going to be taking a look at something that I started last season, but I wanted to make a couple changes to perfect it, and I'm really happy with the results that we've got here. I'm talking about my Glusty Warp low unit deck. Maybe some of you guys have seen it on the ladder, or some of you guys have played it for yourself. There's a couple very minor changes, and playing in two very control heavy matchups right now, this is about the most fun that I'm able to have with monsters if I want to play the faction. Obviously, a lot of the meta surrounding Skellige, you have the Nilfgaard matchup, you've got the Syndicate of any sort, and then you've got the Northern Realms Siege or Mages, right? So beyond that, there's not a lot that I'm seeing being played right now, and the matches become quite repetitive, so I need to keep myself entertained and keep myself ready to go on a daily basis, so I went back to this one here. Now, to go through the list in case you missed it, we have Magic Lamp, just so that we have a target that we can go and boost up with one of our cards, like the Adrenaline Rush or whatnot, if we need something proactive to do. And I probably wouldn't swap it out in this case. We have Mamuna on order, banish a bronze unit from a graveyard, and boost self by its power, then summon a copy of the unit from your deck to the row. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to play the Griffin in round 1, and then we're looking to bring out the other copy later on. Now, before I had the Kikimor Workers as an alternative card to it, but I decided to swap them out for the Elder Bear because it looks like Skellige Pirates are sticking around for a while, Siege is back, and all these types of things, and we would get really bad trades if they were to go and take away our worker, if I can find it here. This one here. So they break the armor, the card destroys itself, so we'd be giving them free points essentially, which didn't make a lot of sense. So this would be the next tallest base power unit that we can fit, right? This is kind of a bad one to play because we're giving them back points if they remove it, and of course this we can't play because we're not Devotion. So that'll be about the tallest bronze card that we have to choose from, which is why we have it here. So that's basically the play. The Old Spear Tip synergizes very well with the Old Spear Tip Asleep. So with the Old Spear Tip Asleep, after 3 turns, summon Old Spear Tip from your deck to this row and increase the space power by 6, then banish self. If Old Spear Tip Asleep takes damage, summon Old Spear Tip from your deck and banish self instead. So basically what they mean by that is, if we play this card and it gets damaged beyond its armor, this card will destroy itself and bring out this card at 12 points. If this card survives, then this card will banish itself after 3 turns and bring out this card for 18 points. So you can imagine how much tempo that is, and it's a really good way to start the round if we're going second. And we just put down something for points, we wait a couple of turns, it has 18 points, we take some thinning in between with the Riders, for example, maybe the Imlerith, and we go from there, and then eventually we're just kind of outpointing them and thinning our deck at the same time with this combo. So that's basically it. A lot of scenario play going around right now, a lot of Mushy Truffles, a lot of Masquerade Balls, we've got tons of Sieges, right? There's a lot of stuff, even very tall units we want to get rid of. Karathi Heatwave makes a huge difference, and I think it's a really good part of this deck. We can banish that, take it out of play for the rest of the game, of course. And moving on to the consistency issue that Monsters sometimes has, this deck does really well to handle that. We're generally drawing our good cards, our gold cards, the big playmakers, so Royal Decree is just going to help a little bit with that. And most of the important cards we're looking for in the deck are going to be units, right? The big point plays are going to be units, so I decided to go for something like the Royal Decree instead of the Naglfar. In the event that we have to use this in round 1, it's less of a lottery, so that's why Naglfar didn't quite make the cut, because this one here you have to choose between 2 random ones and it wasn't as consistent. We can brick some of our thinning packages that we have going on with this card, and I don't recommend it. Now, Frightener makes a lot of sense because after 3 allied units are destroyed, awaken the Frightener. Frightener is a really good Ozrel alternative. It's 12 points, it has immunity, so it can't be targeted by the opponent. This might make their sequencing pretty awkward, and we contribute, like we can actually make that work itself, triggering it by using the Glusty Warp, or if they destroy something of ours, which isn't very difficult. Like I said, a lot of controls going around right now. So you have the Frightener combination with the Glusty Warp combination. We can put up 30-40 points in a quick swing, which competes with even King of Beggars swing and some of these big temple plays that you see going on right now. So like to have it here. It plays really well for its provisions, and if we don't have the Spear Tip, if it gets Heatwaved or something like that, we have a really good alternative for the Ozrel. So that's pretty much it there. Glusty Warp, again, you've probably seen this since OG Gwent days. Destroy all units with 1 power. For each unit destroyed, boost self by 2. So that's pretty much it. This could be like our last save finisher. We secure last save by winning round 1. We just bleed a little bit, maybe round 2, and then we go into a short round 3 with this as a good finisher. Crank the full leader, maybe get some more tokens from playing some organics in the bronze end. Spontaneous evolution's great for that. And then fill up the board, slam, and done, right? Flips a Frightener, big point swing. So that's pretty much it there. It's a win condition, but it's not the win condition, so we could still win games if we miss the Glusty Warp, which is really nice, but we certainly want to make sure we try and have that going into round 3. So that's that. What's going to help us get the good cards, though, again, Imlerith, another card for consistency. It also makes us not have to waste the leader charge to use the Griffin, because on deploy, we get to draw a card, discard a card. If the discarded card was a unit, boost self by its power, so you could see what we're going to be doing here, right? Try and take the Thin first so you don't pull into Double Rider and brick that combo, but then you just basically banish the Griffin, or send the Griffin to grave rather, from hand, draw a card, and now we're getting other cards we can play for the round, right? And it helps set up that Mamuna play more effectively, and it saves the Griffin from having to destroy a unit, or token in this case, to bring itself to the playing field. So saves points when you do it that way, but an alternative could definitely be something like the Elder Bear if we miss it, right? Simple enough. We have Imlerith's Wrath. We're going to be going super tall in a couple units, so damage an enemy unit by the highest power that we control, right? If we have Imlerith in play, we can destroy that unit instead. So this gives us really good reach for removal, helps us get around defenders, helps us punish the tallest unit. I really like it. If there's certain cards that we want to get rid of, for example, we're playing into the Skellige matchup and they have a Sigvald. It doesn't matter what power the Sigvald is. If we're controlling Imlerith, we can destroy it, right? So this basically means cards out of play. We're not damaging anymore, we're destroying it. So keep that in mind when you face that matchup. It's really good to have there. Toad Prince is going to be one of the best cards for dealing with engines on the opponent's side of the playing field, especially in short round 3s. An example would be the Mages matchup. They play a Mage, like an Alumni, sitting at 4 power because they have to go first. We take the Toad Prince and it trades up phenomenally. This plays really good into maybe a Nilfgaard matchup when we have the Thirsty Dames, tons of other stuff, right? Tax Collectors for Syndicate, so Toad Prince never sees a time where it's not going to play for a lot of points. We talked about Osril being really good for either the Spear Tip at 18 points or even 12, and the Frightener at 12, or we can just use it offensively and take something out of their graveyard if we want to remove something from play. So that's also important. Maybe they have a Melusine in their grave, maybe they have something that we want to remove and not have them cycle back later. So this is definitely the option there, but more times than not, you're going to want to have that big 19-point Osril finisher, so keep that one in mind. Now, Parasite, really good reach for removing engines, especially engines that have 1 or 2 armor on them. So we can target this, damage it by 6, but we also have a proactive way to play this card, and we can boost one of our own units by 6. Keep in mind, with all the organic cards that we play in the deck, we're getting an extra drone spawn from our leader, so they're all +1s. So I wanted to benefit from that and have as many organic cards as possible because we're getting free points. So keep that in mind. The only card that I wanted to take, obviously there's a couple of them that weren't organics, like the Heatwave and the Decree and Wrath maybe, right? But these are necessary. So again, tons of organics in the bronze end here. We talked about Asleep. The previous version had a Pred Dive, and this version doesn't, because we're playing against a lot of matchups right now that have 2-point tokens coming on the playing field and stuff like that as part of their first turn. So I'm not playing a Pred Dive for 3 or 4 points. It's just not going to happen. So we want to go in for the Adrenaline Rush, and this is going to be playing 9 points, 5 provisions, quick, simple, easy play. And if they want to go and remove what we boosted, that's fine, because it's usually a token. So that's basically it. This card plays really well in the deck, especially now with the updated version, because the Spontaneous Evolution is going to be either boosting one of our beasts by 8 or boosting one of our insectoids by 4 rather, and then spawning the 3 additional drones. So if we want to swarm for Glusty, we can boost a token. If we want to just point slam, we can boost like an Elder Bear or a Toad Prince or a Griffin. So there's really good targets for that. We don't really want to go for the Ogroid, so stay away from that, I would probably recommend. And Riders, again, another thing, condition. So deploy with Dominance, summon all copies of this unit from your deck to the row, so you want to make sure you have one in hand, one in deck, and play this when we have a unit that's taller than theirs. Pretty simple. And I have a Spores because it's a really good, effective way to reset one of their cards and not have to commit too much, especially for those matchups that tend to go very tall. So why not have it here? It's not the end of the world if we don't play it for a lot of value. We have really good tempo in other places. And then natural selection, these get really good value here. Like I said, 4 points of removal, 1 drone on our side, and there's a lot of 4-point engines going around right now that are very strong. So we want to take care of them before they get out of hand. So that's pretty much it. I've got 4 games for you guys today, and I had a blast playing it. I'm enjoying monsters and stuff that's a little bit different because it gets stale when you play the same thing every day. So that's kind of why I'm switching it up a little bit. But I do think that this can compete with a lot of those crazy meta decks going around right now. And I'll show you some examples and you guys can make your own judgment on that. But I'm not always going to be playing like top meta decks, whatever the case, because again, I usually cover that stuff maybe in the first week, and then I go more towards having fun and just playing some off meta stuff, and that's how I enjoy Gwent. So we'll get into the games here, and if you enjoy the content that you see, don't forget to sub to the channel. We're pushing for 6K subs, so let's make it happen. Alright, and for the first game we've got Syndicate off the books here. And we go first, which is not too bad, because we could find a way to get out of the round pretty easily, I think. I don't really like to have both of the Adrenaline Rushes in hand in the same turn, but I don't mind one. And usually when I have a Griffin, I don't tend to take the Bear as much, so we'll tuck it back. So, effective way to start, because maybe we pull into our thinning package. But at this point, we just get that set up and started. What's not ideal is the fact that we want to play Imlerith on melee, but we also want to have the one unit on a row for the Adrenaline Rush, and that just happens to be where the lamp is. So definitely something we want to think about. I'm thinking about putting this on the range row here, getting that timer started so that we can look for that effective pass and get that carryover as well. So unfortunately we don't get the thin, however we could still pull into the spear tip and play it later. It's not the end of the world, right? I have to expect that a lot of the games we will see some sort of removal. Now I'm thinking, okay, let's just dunk some points here and maybe look to get out of the round, because if they do have poison in hand, the poison will take 2 turns to finish, so simple enough. I think that if I go and take Toad Prince here, that they'll probably pass on that, but I do want to remove it, so I'm deciding, okay, maybe we take a natural selection here. We're staying in the round, but we're not investing too much at this point. We've already come up with a tempo, so we're just maintaining. And 15-point lead, 16. They could surely do it in 2, but I think we just play a bronze special here. Give us a little bit more room, right? But I think with 35, we should be able to just pass here, depending on what they play, of course. And that feels a little bit slow. Yeah, just take the pass. I like Walter, I really do. I'm just glad that we're able to get it out in the bleed here. And that it was a bit of a low roll, so it doesn't quite put them ahead. Boat comes out. They get the extra point off of that, which would ultimately tie, right? So they have to take the second play. Yeah, we're good. So 2 cards. So if they push, it'll be pretty easy, I think, for us to defend it. Otherwise, we go into round 3 with card advantage, so it worked out pretty well. And we could take a thin here on a pass. Pulling Spear Tip's good too, because Muriel's answered the other half, which is kind of nice. That's why I like the combo, because if they answer the first half, we still have a good point slam card. Yeah, so we take this, we get better draws later on, good to go, and then hopefully we pull into all our golds later on. So that's pretty much what you want to see. They did interfere a little bit with the Osroll play, so I'm looking at maybe an alternative. What's going to be the best option here? Mamuna pulls the Griffin from deck. I don't love the Osroll, but it's not bad, you know? Kind of want some removal. I'm thinking there's going to be a freak show, and I'm thinking that we can't take it out with 4 points. Maybe Toad Prince, but we kind of want to just leave the options open. Parasite's better than the Adrenaline Rush there, I think, because the Adrenaline Rush forces us pretty tall early, and it would be a good value poison, I think. It's going to let out the cat. Give me a second.
A different ingredient. An active one.
Wants to go, now doesn't want to go. Okay, so it's all about when we want to show points, and we kind of have to do something a little bit proactive because we don't really want to play well into their whole play. So I'm putting out Spear Tip because if they go ahead and poison something like that, it makes the Osroll better. Whereas Mamuna doesn't really do a whole lot if they deal with those things. So that's kind of the idea.
You will be nudged.
And they are making it a little bit easier for us because they're winding down the Spear Tip, right? That'll just finish the kill. So this is exactly what I'm looking for here. Obviously, it gives them a ton of coin, but at least we get to get the Osroll back, so it kind of evens out. Still need something proactive to play here. Osroll's probably the play. I just love this deck. Like, even if it's not tier 1, it's just so much fun. Like, it just slam, easy to play, fun to play, tempo, control, all the stuff I like. And I think that's what I'll be doing for the next little while, maybe the next few days, is just playing things that I genuinely think are fun. We've done quite a bit of like try-hard decks in the first week of the season. So I'm going to remove that just because it's their only effective spender at this point. We still have answers for a couple other ones, right? You have Toad Prince. Okay, Rayla. That's a Wrath. Every day.
You fear me. I sense it. I smell it.
cat's being so loud right now. Let me know if you guys can hear the bell. But yeah, Toad Prince there's just going to play for points. And I think they're going to take that tribute on Savola here. 7 coin brings it up to 9. They just need the 8. They get a bit of the refund. There we go. And so we can probably just Heatwave the Savola and then maybe take the spores on the King of Beggars and then just take Glusty. So Glusty here plays for the 5 plus the 6 on the board, right? And then we flip the Frightener with it. It's quite a lot of points, but was not expecting Jacques here. I mean, it is Devotion after all, so it makes sense. Playing into Tribute as well, it makes sense. This game's a little bit closer than I'm comfortable with, but the best part though is that I believe there are big removals out of the way with the Marils. And we just have to make sure we can reset a good enough target. They do have the 2 spenders here to split it up a little bit, but I don't think at this point it matters all too much. And the coin circulation's a little bit low for it, so just looking at the score here, we're counting down to a couple points. But that'll do it. They play, I play, just to show them like it was very close. And it's within 10 points. So moving on to the next one, here we got Northern Realms Inspired Zeal. So we gotta take care of the obvious risks here, the bricks on the thinning package, and we have the Griffin with the Imlerth, which is nice. I don't really need Osrol round 1. I don't love Spear Tip in hand when we can try and pull out the Asleep and do it that way instead. Another blue coin matchup here.
Momentum, a function of mass and velocity. Did you see that? Anything
So we have to deal with these things for sure. So I played mages yesterday. Be the video that I published this morning. I had fun playing it.
How did I fare, Mr. Statistician?
Just to clarify, with that one there, like obviously the Siege Masters are going to be faster tempo. They're just really busted cards right now. But I wanted to go back to the old school roots of the mages deck, and based on the feedback, you know, I understand you guys don't really like mages that much, for the most part. But I had my fill for a bit. You gotta keep in mind, I've only played mages maybe 3 or 4 times since those cards were printed, right? I played the Banard students in a Revenants deck at one point just to be saucy, but the actual full students deck, like, I think every time I played it, I've posted it, so. Like to kind of just go around all things. There's a couple archetypes I won't play, but this one's not all that bad. Takes a lot of setup. The opponent has ample time to deal with it. And again, we're just trying to get rid of these engines one by one to prevent the carryover from establishing, because I know how deadly it gets. And unfortunately, we're running out of steam here. We don't have many options left. Maybe I take a Wrath on the Letitia. So I'm kind of looking at it, alright, you know, that's like, they're almost out of the way. There's that one left, and I don't want to Heatwave it, you know? Okay, we get the pass. We have a very good pushing hand. I just don't know if the correct move is to go and push. We could try. These are pretty good pushing cards, just like slam after slam, you know? This could actually be pretty good. I don't know if it's enough to win the game though, but like in 2. Sort of set up the framework here. It's like actually kind of bad putting down Frightener first, because if they just go crazy with tempo, then we won't get that card back ever, I don't think. So we got to put down like Mamuna, take that thin, and then maybe look at Frightener and stuff like that after we've seen a couple plays. Okay, so Henselt into, yeah.
I pass on every 10th round.
That's a really good draw. They pulled both of them. We just got to stick to it here. Take the 8 boost on the... Yeah, the Beast gets the extra point, 9 points. Not too expensive either. Trying to see if Devotion or not. It can go either way at this point.
Sorcerer is a sword with no hilt. So, shall we warm up with a fire spell?
I don't have any answers for that student. If I do push, that might be a heat wave. It really depends. Like, gotta see more commitments here, right? Okay, with the Marine 4 boost, that's Devotion. So student's probably a heat wave target, because think about all the value that's gonna get. Kind of wish they would just boost it up again, but yeah, take the heat wave here. We've got a pretty significant lead, but I'm not convinced, you know, that we've gotten enough. I'm thinking that maybe they're just 2 cards back and they save the chapter Wizards and they just come into round 3 with it and it's bad, you know? I also don't know, is it possible to fit a scenario in this deck with these provisions? Chapters 13, Henselt's 13. I just see the sieges, you know? Maybe they're just in there for the thinning package, right? Okay, the duel comes down. It's kind of scary. Think about it. They have pretty good reach there. Especially with that boost, they could take down Mamuna, yeah. So, at this point, it's like, it's an all-in thing. Because otherwise they get it in 1 and they save chapter. So the fact that Frightener is already there kind of makes me feel inclined to play, right? Separate the rows a little bit, but no real good reason for it. So they have to greed that for 1 turn to get the reset. That's kind of the game changer here, and they do pull. 1 second here. Let this cat out again, or try to.
But we shall prevail.
Alright, so we got the all-in, which is great. Now it's just about who top decks better, and they didn't get like a lot of setup for the big play, right? So based on what I see right now, I think we have a better round 3. And it just got better. So we pull this, the Toad Prince, right? We try to take a 4. So unfortunately that one's out of reach, but it's not too bad. The damage counter's not too high. I don't think it really matters there if you take Osral before Spear Tip. But Perfect Shiny opens up a huge window for us getting that Toad Prince out, so we'll go ahead and take that. There we go. And I think our last say should beat their last say, right? Yeah. Let's go ahead, play the Spirit Tip here. Not bad. Both games decided so far within 10 points, so it's kind of where I wanted to be. Obviously, it's not super strong, it's not weak. You know, we're winning, but obviously the games are challenging. So far, I'm pretty happy with the results, though. I think taking the Pred Dive out has proved to be quite effective so far. It's tough, though, because like when I take it out, I miss it, but then when I have it, it's not always playing for the most value. So, again, setting up the hand for round 1 that we want. We want a Griffin in hand round 1. We want to have Spirit Tip asleep in hand if possible in round 1. A couple organic cards to help take the round. Maybe Glusty so that we don't have to worry about getting it later. But, yeah. We just got to deal with these problems. So, I don't have the Imlerith, and it might be worth taking like a Royal Decree into it. Might also be worth just playing Spirit Tip shortly, but I think it dies with the discards, so maybe we deal with that. Plus we get one last shot to maybe take Griffin from hand, because I don't mind it, right? We don't have to go in dive with the only Royal Decree for something. If we don't necessarily need it right now, we can still take it later. So Maxi's a little bit slower. At this point, why not? It keeps us ahead, and we actually top deck perfectly here. So, up by 3 points, get the Riders. That's something we could play after. I don't know. I want to play the Spear Tip, but it's getting a little bit late in the round. It's usually something I like to play pretty early, or now would be fine if it provokes the pass. Kind of want to stay ahead though. Let's see how this plans out, right? Could be bad, could be good. And I guess it's bad. But we did win on even here, so we'll see what we can get out next round. We didn't really see a whole lot of commitments early on, right? They played a little bit of discard. They didn't have all the pieces, so I guess it was just trying to get out of the round kind of thing for them. So put back to the Griffin. We're going to get that back with Mamuna, and then we don't really need to see the Elder Bears. You'll find I'm not always looking for those Elder Bears, right? If I play them from hand, it's not the end of the world, but it's not something I'm going to actively look for. That's all. Defender here. So we're in a pretty cozy spot, right? I'm thinking since the other Spear Tip didn't get its effect, we might as well put this down, get a bunch of points, and set up an Osral for round 3. And it looks like that push gets scenario. So I don't think that we want to stay in the round, because I'd rather take the card advantage here. They're going to get the card back very quickly. Yeah, you see what I mean? One play does it. So the fact that we got the Mushy Truffle first time through, and then the scenario and the defender just for playing the Thin and the Spear Tip's pretty good. We still have to deal with maybe Dwims on the Mushy Truffle, which is actually pretty nasty. But so far, like, our pulls are looking really good. We've got 2 removal options there. Engine removal with the Toad Prince, big point slams, another engine removal with the natural selection. I just kind of want the spores, you know? Even a late discard package is still a good one. It plays for a lot of points in round 3. Proactivity in round 3, you could save some of your control. You can kind of hide some of your points for a bit. Seeing that though is big. That really helps us out. And that's one of the things that I've been fortunate with for a long time is when I've been playing a lot of Skellige, I've been really good with my discards, but lately, I don't know what it is. It almost feels like they changed the RNG, because it's been getting worse. And I don't know if that's actually possible, but I've just noticed lately. So again, another example here on how effective the adrenaline rush is. When you don't play cards often, sometimes the name just kind of slips. Now we can go and take that away. It's got doomed, so they're hiding something behind it. If they're pulling back a defender here, instead of the discard, think about it. Coral could have come back to fix the discard, so they didn't have to play the other one from hand. And I'm just thinking Sigvald, Heatwave, just get that one over with. I think it's just something you treat right away, opposed to waiting for, just in case something happens, you know? But you could always hold on to Heatwave there and just wait till the very end, sure. It's just, don't really want them to do a bunch of damage on something if we go tall, right? And we're out of answers. Fortunately, there's only a couple turns left, but Callus just sticks. I'm hoping that they don't really do anything too special with it, but it's not too bad. The bigger threats, the Dwym here, that would have been a nice Heatwave. I guess it's not as bad though if they don't have the Crow Clans out. You know, they're just playing for the 6 points every time, but we should just be good here though. Takes the ale, yeah. Yeah, we'll be alright. I don't want to go too tall with the spontaneous, maybe keep it wide, because that could be expensive, so maybe just boost the boost that one there. It would be more points ultimately if we boost the one that's already at 9 power, but I'd rather just play it safe. At this point, I don't even think we'll have to play all the cards. So we go 44-38. We could just play one or the other. We don't have to play them both. So that was a good game. And moving on to the last one of the day, we have Jackpot Syndicate. I've been messing around with my Syndicate Crimes deck a little bit, trying to make it a bit better. I liked the way it played for a few days after I made the other one maybe 2 weeks ago, but I haven't quite figured it out for 10.2. I recorded 3 or 4 games on a couple different occasions, and I ended up deleting the videos that I recorded because they were more like struggle wins. It was a bit harder to get them done. They weren't as pretty. So I felt like maybe it wasn't the best way to go about it. But I'm still thinking about it. And I'm saying that because I know I've been getting a lot of requests from one of you guys. and I want to fulfill that request shortly. I think it's tougher to play line pockets right now because there's even more answers to cards like Tunnel Drill and you're spending engines. It got significantly harder in the matter of a couple weeks to play it.
No, dwarves do not qualify for childcare tax relief.
So, I don't like seeing two of those because seeing two tax collectors in round one often means we kind of like give them round. Those go pretty wild if we don't treat them soon. And pretty soon the other one's going to start boosting every turn. So, again, turning off those engines is kind of important. I think they see the line here and, yeah, protecting it. So, it's probably just points at this point, right? Get the timer started nice and early. If they pass on it, we still win on even. And I don't mind taking the card like that. I know it's not the way that it's maybe supposed to be played oftentimes, but it really kind of just helps win around if they're like, no, I can't let that tick down. The game does go on. They don't DC. It's a full game. So poison here, yeah, like that's kind of difficult to deal with. I think in situations like this though, it's best to just jam points, right? They try and take something out for 6, we play something for 12, we keep them pushing and pushing. So just looking at the fact that they had to go and reach for that. I was thinking maybe it was a bluff poison for a second, but nothing we can really do about that, so we'll just throw a card because we're already up. It's a pretty good lead, and the cards are starting to get expensive. Would have been nice, though, to have that drone spawn on the back row so that we can go and take the A-Rush on it and not have to worry about using a leader charge for it, but with the pass here, it makes it that much easier. It's like a really good hand, you know? Kick back the bear. Well, first kick back the griffin because the Mamuna play. And then we kick back the bear. We've got a couple A-Rushes. Like, they used to be one of my favorite cards to play, and I'm starting to really like playing them now. There's a lot you could do with an A-Rush if you put it on something that's not important. Makes anybody feel bad about taking a heat wave. And what's nice about this is that we can go take the second adrenaline rush on the ranged row right now because the Frightener doesn't count as a unit. I don't know if we care too much about the freak show. Let's split up the points a little bit here, though. And I think it's just like a play of priority thing. Until we feel like we've gotten enough commitments or we win, we just continue to go. And it'll probably look like the spontaneous and then maybe something like the Mamuna for the thin, and then it really kind of comes down to Glusty, Heatwave, and Ozril are like at our discretion if we think it's worth it at that point, because those are really good round 3 short cards. Mamuna's good for that too, but Mamuna's also really helpful for thinning, and with like 10 cards left in deck, pull in some other stuff as well. Don't want to break it for round 3 because that's like a lose condition. Kind of just hoping that they take the junior and start getting rid of some of these tokens, right? And even this play here. Because I don't think Glusty is the play at this point in the round. It's not... it's kind of like the other matchup where it's already out there, and if we don't commit it at this point, then it feels really bad to just not get that Frightener. So it's almost like we gotta. But it looks like they're trying to help set up a perfect Glusty because they have an answer to it.
You should confess all in due course.
I think it's alright though. Oswald's really not bad here. It doesn't play for as many points as the Glusty. It also maybe provokes that removal that they're looking to spend so that Glusty does work if they're running down to like a few good cards in hand, you know? Because if they played some of these other things earlier, then they must have some really good ones in hand. That's nice to see. Philip on the 1. Is that ever just a pass though, right? Get the card advantage and then the coin goes down to 2. Going into round 3, we keep our lead. Yeah. Mariels just feels like a bad thing, you know? Like, I would expect it. And sure enough, I think they would still take the Mariels on the 10 if we continue to play. Just because they would know a Glusty's coming anyways, right? So it's probably just that. Want to get the most points possible, right? Spontaneous short round gets good value for the tokens. As long as we keep 1 leader charge, we don't get in trouble. And that's just a really good parasite. There's the 1. If that sticks, we take the spontaneous on that. Save the leader for the very last turn.
Learn that spell in Zerrikania.
And that's actually a lot of points to make up if you think about it. So first thing we go into deck here, take out the Spirit Tip. It's probably the safest play. And then we can just look at taking Heatwave and Glusty. It should be enough though. And that's actually a lot of points in a short period of time. So just 1 turn at a time here. Heatwave so we can see what we're doing. and ARACHAS Swarm, and I think we should just have enough. Alright, we'll see you guys tomorrow.